November 14, 1987, Chicago. A security camera outside a hotel captures two veteran airline pilots stepping into the early morning darkness at exactly 6:47 a.m. Captain Michael Torres and First Officer David Chen move with the calm rhythm of men who have done this 1,000 times, jackets on, bags in hand, faces half lit by the lobby glow. They are scheduled to fly 237 passengers to Denver at 9:15 a.m., a routine departure, a normal day, a simple job. They never make it to the gate. A few hours later, their rental car is found at O'Hare International Airport. It is not parked properly. It is not shut down. It is waiting. The engine is still running. The driver door is hanging open. The keys are still in the ignition, like someone stepped out for a second and planned to return. There's no sign of a struggle. No broken glass, no blood. No note, no phone call, no ransom demand. Captain Michael Torres and David Chen are simply gone, as if the airport swallowed them whole in broad daylight. As if two men could disappear from one of the busiest places in America without leaving a single footprint behind. Investigators will search, they will question, they will trace every minute, every camera angle, every employee badge swipe, every possible exit. But the case will harden into something colder than a mystery. It becomes a silence. Years pass, then decades. Their names stay on paper, their faces fade on bulletin boards. Flight 227 becomes the kind of story people whisper about in break rooms, because it feels too impossible to be real. Then 36 years later, in October 2023, a demolition crew finally receives permission to tear down an abandoned airport maintenance hangar, a building that should have come down years ago. A building that has been delayed again and again for reasons no one can explain. A sledgehammer hits an unusually thick section of concrete. Dust erupts. The wall cracks. And behind it, there is a space that is not on any blueprint. A hidden room sealed from the outside, waiting in the dark, like a locked secret that never stopped breathing. Here's the question. Why would two pilots vanish on the same morning their plane was supposed to depart? And how does a sealed hangar wall connect to their disappearance 36 years later? And here is another question. If someone hid the truth for nearly 4 decades inside an airport facility, what else did they hide? And who was still protecting it? If you want to uncover the answers with me, like this video and subscribe to Unscripted Tales right now. Make sure you turn on the bell icon so you do not miss the upcoming episodes in this story. Tell me in the comments which city you are watching from as we reopen one of aviation history's most disturbing cases. Also help me complete 5,000 likes on this episode, because the moment you hear what was found behind that wall, you will understand why this was never just a disappearance. It was a warning, because on that rainy morning in 1987, those two pilots did not simply miss a flight. They walked out of a Chicago hotel at 6:47 a.m. and stepped into something that did not want them to live long enough to speak. The airport, with all its lights, loudspeakers, and endless crowds, kept moving as if nothing had happened. Planes took off. Passengers arrived. Doors opened and closed. And somewhere in the middle of that normal rush, two men became a mystery with no ending, till the day a wall finally broke and the past finally pushed back through. November rain falls hard over O'Hare. It does not fall gently. It comes down in sheets, slapping the glass, washing the runways until the painted lines disappear. The runway lights glow through the storm like blurred halos, yellow and white smudges in the distance. Inside the terminal, everything feels louder and sharper. Rolling suitcases, distant announcements, footsteps that never stop. Beneath all of it, a nervous energy that grows every time someone looks at the departure screens near one of the large windows. A little girl presses her face close to the glass. Her name is Sarah Vance. She is 7 years old, small enough that she has to stand on her toes to see over the ledge. In her arms is a stuffed rabbit, worn at the ears and squeezed tight like a life jacket. Her father won it for her at a state fair, and she holds it as if it can keep bad things away. Sarah watches the planes through the rain, trying to pick out which one is her father. Her voice is soft, almost hopeful. She asks her mother if her daddy plane is big. She does not understand schedules, or delays, or how airports can swallow time. Only understands that her father promised he would fly, then he would come home. Her mother, Catherine Vance, kneels beside her. Catherine smiles, but the smile is not real. It is a mask pulled tight over fear. Her hand keeps drifting to her wrist, checking her watch, then checking it again like the numbers might change if she stares long enough. Every few minutes, she'll looks up at the departure board, then at the window, then back to her watch. She tells Sarah that the plane is very big, the biggest one out there. She says it like a bedtime story. She says it like a shield. Morning slips forward in small, painful steps. The rain does not ease. The runway stays slick and dark. Sarah's rabbit grows damp from her hands. People around. Them come and go, meeting families, hugging, laughing, leaving. Each reunion becomes a tiny cut. Each passing minute stretches the air thinner. Catherine keeps telling Sarah that sometimes flights are late. Sometimes the weather makes things slow. Sometimes grown-up work takes longer. But Captain Michael Torres' plane does not taxi to the gate for departure. It does not roll forward. Does not take off. The window becomes a screen, showing only rain and lights in motion that is not his. By noon, Catherine's hands are shaking. She tries to hide it by adjusting Sarah's jacket. She tries to keep her voice steady when she asks an airport employee for information. The employee disappears behind a counter, makes a phone call, returns with a look that is too careful. Then another person arrives, then another. Catherine is asked to step away from the crowds. They are led down a hallway into a small private room where the air smells like old carpet and stale coffee. Sarah sits quietly, feet swinging, still clutching the rabbit. She watches her mother's face change. Catherine keeps asking the same question in different ways. Where is he? What happened? Did he call? Did anyone see him? The answers are thin and incomplete, like trying to hold water in your hands by evening. Airport security is everywhere. Section of the rental car lot is blocked off. People talk in low voices. Radios crackle. Uniformed man tells Catherine that investigators are looking into it. He tells her they will contact her soon. He speaks, like a person reading from a script. He avoids her eyes. Catherine tries to stay upright, tries to stay calm for Sarah. But her breath keeps catching like she cannot get enough air. By midnight, the terminal lights feel harsh. The building feels colder. The calm of the morning is gone, replaced by a heavy official tension. The FBI arrives. Not local police, not airline staff. The FBI. That word changes everything. It makes it real in a way Catherine cannot protect Sarah from. Somewhere in the airport security office, Sarah's stuffed rabbit ends up on a plastic chair. Button eyes staring forward under fluorescent light, left behind in the confusion, like a small forgotten witness to a day that will never make sense. Catherine is on a phone, voice breaking, trying to explain to Michael's parents that their son walked out of a hotel and vanished before his flight. Outside. Planes still come and go, even in the rain. The airport does not stop for grief, does not pause for missing men. It keeps moving, and that is what makes it feel so cruel. And while the investigators search the car and scan the cameras and pull records from that morning, one thought begins to form in the background like thunder behind the storm. If Michael Torres did not leave on his own, then someone made sure he never got the chance to return. A phone will ring decades later with 3 words that will drag Sarah back into this night and force the truth into the light. The airport did not remember the way Sarah Vance did. It grew and changed. Walls were rebuilt, gates were renumbered, new terminals rose where old ones had been torn down. But for Sarah, O'Hare never moved on. It stayed frozen in the moment a 7-year-old girl watched rain blur the runway lights and waited for a father who never came back. 36 years pass. Sarah does not carry a stuffed rabbit anymore. She carries files. She carries dates. She carries names that most people have forgotten. She becomes the kind of adult who does not let silence win. Sarah Vance is now an investigative journalist. At the Chicago Tribune, she has spent years chasing leads that turn to dust. She has heard every rumor. She has read every old report. She has sat across from people who promised information and delivered nothing. She has lived with the same question every day. How do two men vanish before a flight and leave no trace behind? On this morning, she is not standing at a terminal window. She is standing in her office, surrounded by paper and screens, with a folder pressed against her chest like armor. The folder is marked confidential. Inside are photographs that are not supposed to exist, notes that do not fit the official story, and a timeline she has rewritten 100 times, hoping one missing detail will finally click into place. Her phone rings. An unknown number. For a second, she almost lets it go to voicemail, because she has learned what hope can do to a person. Then she answers. A man speaks, and his voice is wrong. Not angry, not excited, just tight like he is, forcing the words out through fear. He says he is a demolition foreman, says he is calling from O'Hare. He does not explain why he chose her number, but Sarah understands it anyway. People who work around old places hear old stories. Some of them get curious. Some of them get scared. Then the foreman lowers his voice to a whisper. 3 words that land like a weight in her stomach. They are still here. Sarah tries to speak, but her throat locks. She grips the phone harder. She asks what he means. She asks where. She asks who is still here, but the line goes dead, not a clean hang up. It cuts off like someone yanked the cord. Sarah sits very still. Her heart is loud in her ears. The office around her fades. The only thing she can hear is that whisper repeating in her mind. They are still here. It does not sound like a discovery. It sounds like a warning. She pulls up old airport records she has collected over the years. Old maps, old maintenance, logs. She scans names and numbers until one location keeps, reappearing in the background of the 1987 case like a shadow that never fully formed. Hangar. It is an abandoned airport maintenance hangar, a place most passengers have never seen. A place that sits outside the polished world of gates and restaurants and departure boards, a building made for tools, fuel stains, and long-forgotten repairs. A building that should be empty, a building that should not hold secrets. Sarah looks at the confidential folder in her hands. For years, she believed the truth was lost, buried in paperwork and time, but that phone call suggests something else. It suggests the truth did not disappear. It was hidden, sealed away, left behind a wall and forgotten on purpose. And if someone is still there, after 36 years, then the real question becomes even darker. Who made sure nobody opened that hangar until now? Hangar 7B sits away from the bright terminal, away from the crowds, away from the places where cameras are meant to watch. It looks like a dead building. Weathered metal, faded warning signs, doors that have not opened in years. Most people who pass it assume it is empty, forgotten, harmless, but for 3 weeks, it does not come down the way it is supposed to. The demolition crew has the job scheduled, the equipment is ready. The city paperwork should be simple, yet every time they are about to start, clearance gets delayed. A missing signature, permit problem, an inspection that never happens. Small excuses that sound normal on paper, but feel wrong when they stack up again and again. The crew waits, they grumble, they move to other jobs. But Hangar 7B stays standing like someone is stalling for time. Then on a gray Thursday morning, in October 2023, the clearance finally arrives. No explanation, just approval. The crew steps inside, and the air is stale, thick with old dust and cold metal. Their voices echo in the wide space. Feels like the building is listening. Tommy Garrett, one of the workers, raises his sledgehammer and brings it down against a concrete wall. The impact cracks through the hangar like a gunshot. Dust bursts out. The sound bounces back at him. He wipes his mouth with his sleeve and steps closer. He hits it again. The wall feels wrong. Too solid, too thick, like it was poured with extra purpose. He frowns and checks the markings the crew has. The blueprints show nothing there. No door, no opening, just solid wall. Tommy swings a third time. The Concrete finally gives, not the way a normal wall gives. It breaks open like a shell through the hole. His flashlight beam cuts into a space that should not exist. The light catches a metallic glint first, then something darker that looks like leather, then a shape that stops his breath. A human shoe. For a second, Tommy does not move. His hand loosens. The flashlight slips and clatters to the floor. Sound is small, but it feels loud in the sudden silence. "Marcus," he calls out, and his voice comes out tight and strange. "Marcus, call 911. Now, Marcus starts to argue, because nobody wants to believe what they just saw. But one look at Tommy's face ends it. He runs. Within an hour, Hangar 7B is surrounded. Police cars, flashing lights. Yellow tape stretched across the entrance. Officers moving with controlled urgency. The demolition crew is pushed back outside, watching from a distance, trying to understand how a demolition job turned into a crime scene. Inside, the air feels colder than it should. The hole in the wall stares like an open wound. And behind it, something waits in a room that was never supposed to be found. Because whatever is sealed behind that concrete is not just old history. It is the kind of truth that someone tried very hard to bury alive. When Detective Rachel Kim steps into Hangar 7B, she feels it immediately. The kind of silence that does not belong in an airport. The hangar is huge, but the air feels trapped. Cold metal, old dust, smell of concrete that has been sealed for too long. Police lights flash outside through cracks in the doors. Officers move in and out, setting up work lights and marking the ground. The demolition crew is gone now, replaced by people who know what death looks like. Rachel follows the hole in the wall, ducking under the jagged concrete edges. She shines her flashlight through first and then steps inside. The room is small, about 8 feet by 10 feet. No windows, no vents she can see. No visible door from the inside. It's concrete on every side, like a box poured to hold something forever. The air inside is colder than the hangar, and her breath comes out faint and white, even though it is autumn. 2 bodies sit against the far wall, not sprawled, not tangled. Slumped like men who got too tired to keep fighting. They are wearing pilot uniforms, dark fabric, brass buttons, wings on the chest. Their posture tells a story without words. They did not die quickly. They waited, they weakened. They ran out of time. Rachel's partner, Detective James Holloway, steps in behind her. His face is pale under the harsh work light. He does not speak at first, because his eyes are doing the measuring. He checks the badges. He checks the uniform details. He checks the names like he is praying the answer is different. Then he says it quietly. The badges check out. Captain Michael Torres, First Officer David Chen. Missing since November 1987. For a moment, the room feels like it tilts. Years collapses into one breath. Rachel crouches near the bodies, careful with her footing, careful not to disturb anything. The uniforms are preserved in a way that feels unnatural, protected by the sealed room like a twisted time capsule. Near Torres' right hand, a small notebook lies on the floor. On chin lap, a flight manual rests open, as if he had been reading it again and again. Searching for an emergency procedure that could save him from a wall, Rachel sweeps her light across. The room sees the marks. Scratch marks all over the concrete, deep gouges, lines cut into the wall at shoulder height and lower down near the floor. The kind of desperate damage made by fingernails and broken objects. The kind of marks made by people who believed rescue would come if they just kept trying. Between the 2 men, a jacket lies on the floor, not tossed, not crumpled. Placed carefully, almost like a pillow, almost like one last attempt at comfort when comfort was impossible. Rachel stands slowly, her knees aching, her mind moving faster than her body. Someone put them here. Someone sealed them in. This was not an accident. This was not a mistake. Asterisk, her flashlight catches something else near the corner. Words carved into the concrete. Faint in the dust, but clear enough to read. Flight 227 knows Earth message ends there. Like the hand that carved it ran out of strength or ran out of time, or both. Rachel photographs it, then photographs it again, making sure every letter is sharp and readable. She looks back at James when they disappeared. What flight were they supposed to be piloting? James pulls out his phone and scrolls with quick, tense movements. He finds the case file, the old record that should have been buried. In archives, his face changes as he reads. Flight 227, Chicago to Denver. Departed 2 hours late with a replacement crew after Torres and Chen failed to show. The room feels colder than before, because now the carving on the wall is not just a dying message, it is a link. It is proof that whatever happened to these men was connected to the flight they were supposed to fly. And if Flight 227 took off that day anyway, then the question is no longer, where did the pilots go? The question becomes, who wanted them gone before that? This plane never left the ground. Detective Rachel Kim does not call Sarah Vance from the hangar. She knows some news should not be delivered in a parking lot or over a rushed phone conversation. She waits until she is back at the station, until she has photographs, badge confirmations, and a medical examiner on standby. Even then, her hand hesitates before she dials. Asterisk. Sarah answers on the second ring. Her voice is calm, but it is the calm of someone who has trained herself to sound steady through years of disappointment. She has received calls before, tips that led nowhere, sightings that collapsed under basic facts. People who wanted attention. People who wanted money. Rachel introduces herself, speaks clearly, keeps it professional. She says she is calling about the 1987 disappearance of Captain Michael Torres. She asks Sarah to come in because this cannot be discussed casually. Sarah does not ask for details. She does not negotiate a time. She only says she can be there quickly, and the line ends. When Sarah arrives, the station smells like old coffee and disinfectant. The hallway lights feel too bright, the sound of phones, and footsteps feels too normal for what is about to happen. Rachel leads her into a private conference room and closes the door. Sarah stands for a moment, not sitting, as if she is afraid that if she sits down her body will accept the truth before her mind can. Her hands grip the strap of her bag. Eyes search Rachel's face for a clue. Rachel does not delay it. She says it quietly and directly. We found your father. We found both pilots. Sarah's knees finally bend. She sits hard in the chair, like the strength left her all at once. For a second, she cannot breathe properly. 36 years of not knowing crashes into one sentence. Rachel places a folder on the table. She tells Sarah she needs to prepare herself. The circumstances are unusual, disturbing. Sarah opens the folder with fingers that feel numb. The first photo shows the small concrete room. The second shows the uniforms. The third shows her father's face, preserved just enough to be recognizable. Eyes closed, head tilted slightly. The expression is not peaceful, but it looks quiet. Like exhaustion frozen in time, Sarah stares at the image until her vision blurs. She hears herself ask a question, but it does not sound like her own voice. How did they die? Rachel tells her the medical examiner is still working, but early findings point toward asphyxiation, a room with no ventilation, a sealed space. They were alive when they were locked inside. There is evidence they tried to escape. Sarah grips the edge of the table, holding on to something solid because her thoughts are spinning. Her whole life she imagined scenarios: kidnapping, murder, a secret life, even the possibility that he chose to leave. But this is different. This is deliberate. This is slow. Rachel slides another photograph forward, the carving on the wall. Flight 227 Nozar. Rachel asks her about Flight 227. Did your father ever mention anything unusual? Any concern? Any suspicion? Anything that might connect him to that flight? Sarah does not answer immediately. She closes her eyes and reaches backward through memory, through scenes she avoided for decades. She remembers being small, pretending to sleep, listening from the stairs. She remembers her father's voice late at night, urgent and angry in a way she had never heard before. She remembers her mother trying to calm him, trying to pull him away from whatever he was saying. Sarah opens her eyes and looks at Rachel. 2 weeks before he disappeared, she says he came home late. He was arguing with my mother in the kitchen, said the manifest did not match. He said there were passengers who should not have been on that flight. Rachel leans in, focused. Sarah continues slowly at first, then faster as the memory sharpens. He said it was the Denver route. He said someone was using commercial flights for something else, something wrong. My mother told him to let it go. She said it was not his problem. But he said he was a pilot, and that meant something. The room goes quiet after that. Rachel and the detectives outside the door feel far away. All that exists is the weight of that sentence. Passenger manifest did not match. Someone should not have been there. Rachel looks at Sarah with a different expression now. Not sympathy. Not only grief. Something sharper. Determination. Because this is no longer just a case about missing pilots. It is a case about what those pilots saw and what someone was willing to do to keep it hidden. Sarah will lead them to the only place she never had the courage to open. Sarah does not go home after the station. She does not sit with her grief. She does not allow the shock to turn into silence again. Instead, she drives to the place she has paid for every month since 1987, a place she never talked about at parties, a place that became a private museum. Of pain, the storage facility sits under harsh lights, quiet and empty, with rows of metal doors like sealed mouths. Sarah unlocks hers and pulls it open. The smell hits first. Cardboard, dust, old paper that has aged in the dark. Rachel Kim and James Holloway stand at the entrance and let Sarah step inside first, because this is not just evidence. This is a daughter walking back into the moment her life split in half. Stacks of boxes fill the unit from floor to shoulder height. Some are marked with dates. Some are marked FBI return. Some are marked personal. Sarah keeps them separate like she is, afraid the truth might contaminate what little memory she has left. She pulls a folding table into the center and sets down a banker box with careful hands. These are his logbooks, she says. The FBI took everything after he disappeared. They returned most of it years later. I kept it all, but I could not face it. Rachel puts on gloves and opens the logbook. The pages are filled with neat, disciplined handwriting, date, flight number, route, aircraft type, weather notes. Torres wrote like a man who believed order could protect him. Every entry is clean, consistent, almost mechanical, until October 1987. Rachel flips to a page dated October 23rd. She taps the margin. The handwriting changes here, she says. It becomes rushed. And there are notes on the side. James leans closer, using his phone light to see the small writing. Sarah steps in. Her breath shallow. The note mentions Flight 227, Chicago to Denver. Then another line that makes the hair on the back of Rachel's neck rise. Passenger manifest discrepancy. Seat 14C occupied. No boarding record. The three of them stare at it. A seat occupied by someone who did not officially exist in the system. In an airport? On a commercial flight? That should not happen. Not without help. Rachel turns the page. Another entry. October 30th. Flight 227 again. Another margin note. 14C again. Same passenger. Spoke to Chen. He sees it too. Sarah swallows hard. David Chen was his regular first officer. They flew the Denver route again and again. If Chen saw it too, then this was not a mistake. This was a pattern, Rachel continues. November 3. Flight 227. Another note. Cargo manifest off by 200 pounds. 14C passenger carried large case, not checked through system. Each line feels like a door closing behind them. A heavy case. Passenger with no record. Cargo weight that does not match. All of it points toward one ugly word. Smuggling. Rachel turns to November 10th. The writing is tighter now. More urgent, Chen agrees. We need to report. Who do we trust? Then November 13th. Meeting at hotel before flight. Chen has proof Sarah feels her. Stomach twists because that is the night before they vanished. A meeting at a hotel? Evidence. Proof. And then silence. Rachel closes the logbook gently and checks the back cover. Her gloved fingers pause, as if she feels something. Loose paper tucked inside, folded thin, almost hidden like someone was. Trying to protect it from discovery, Sarah reaches for it, then hesitates. She takes a breath and unfolds it. Her father's handwriting is there, but it is different. Not calm, not neat, rushed, panicked, like he was writing while listening for footsteps. If you are reading this, something has gone wrong. Flight 227 is being used to transport something illegal. The passenger in 14 Celsius is not a passenger, is a courier. I do not know what he is carrying, but it is heavy, expensive, and people are willing to kill to protect it. Sarah reads each line aloud, her voice steady only because her heart is too shocked to break yet. Chen and I documented everything. We're going to turn it over to the FAA today, but someone knows. Someone at the airline knows. Then one detail makes the room feel smaller. The hotel phone rang at 3 a.m. No one spoke. But I could hear breathing. Chen room got the same call. We are going to the airport early. Going to find someone in federal law enforcement before our scheduled flight. Sarah's hands tremble. But she keeps reading. If we do not make it, look for the photographs. Chen hid them somewhere safe. Gate 17. Under the sentence ends there. Number. Location, no direction. Only the beginning of a secret. Cut off as if the writer was interrupted mid-breath, Sarah lowers the paper and looks at Rachel. Tears finally reach her eyes, but her expression hardens behind them. He knew, she says. He knew they were in danger. Rachel takes a photo of the note and the logbook entries. James stares at the words Gate 17 like they are coordinates to a buried weapon. If you feel the tension building, like this video, and subscribe to Unscripted Tales, turn on the bell icon, because this story is no longer about what happened. It is about what was hidden, who hid it, and why it stayed buried for 36 years. Sarah folds the note carefully, as if it is fragile glass. Rachel looks from Sarah to James and then back to the logbook. Gate 17 is where this turns from a mystery into a hunt. Because if Chen really hid photographs there, then the evidence might still exist, and someone might still be watching to make sure nobody ever finds it. The words Gate 17 hang in the air of the storage unit like a last breath that never settled. Sarah repeats it quietly as if saying it out loud will make it real. Rachel Kim does not look away from the note. James Holloway is already moving. Already thinking like a detective who senses the case is about to shift. They leave the storage facility and go straight back to the station. Not to rest, not to process, to map, to verify. To locate a gate that a dying man used as his final direction, James pulls airport records from the archive database and pulls older material that is not even digital. Microfilm scans, old construction, files, historical terminal layouts. The kind of documents nobody opens unless a lawsuit forces them. He spreads them across a table like a puzzle. Rachel points to the note again, Gate 17. Where was it in 1987? James finds the diagram. He traces his finger along the old concourse lines until he lands on a label. Concourse B. He looks up at Rachel. Gate 17 was in Concourse B, but Concourse B was rebuilt in the mid-1990s. The numbering changed. The walls changed. The whole area was redesigned. Sarah feels her hope wobble. She asks the question she has asked 1,000 times in different forms. So does that mean it is gone? Rachel does not answer with comfort. She answers with a detective. Mind, not necessarily. Renovations do not erase everything. Airports build on top of old structures. They bury foundations. They seal old corridors. They cover over service spaces and call it progress. James keeps scrolling and then stops. His eyes narrow. He taps a detail in the file. Hangar 7B, he reads aloud. Hangar 7B was the maintenance facility used for Concourse B during the 1980s. The same hangar where Torres and Chen were found sealed behind a wall. Sarah's chest tightens. The connection lands like a hard truth. The hangar and the gate were not separate locations. They were linked. Gate 17 was part of the same area that Hangar 7B supported, the same zone, the same infrastructure. The the same hidden back corridors. Most passengers never see. Rachel leans back in her chair, staring at the ceiling for a moment, as if she is watching the case reassemble itself. 2 pilots disappear after meeting at a hotel. Their bodies are sealed in a maintenance hangar that served the very concourse their flight departed from. A note points to Gate 17, a gate that no longer exists above ground. This is not coincidence. This is design. Sarah's voice comes out low. He was about to write where, but he got stopped. Rachel nods once. Someone knew they were collecting evidence. Someone knew they planned to report it. And someone chose to bury both the men and the proof in the same maze of airport bones. James flips to a modern schematic and lays it beside the old one. Concourse B is gone on the surface, but the footprint is still there under the international terminal. Beneath the polished floors and bright signs, there are void spaces, crawl spaces, utility tunnels, service cavities built to carry pipes and power. Rachel taps the table with her finger, slow and deliberate. The evidence might not be in the terminal people see. It might be under it. Sarah looks from the note to the maps, then to Rachel. Grief has not faded, but something sharper rises above it. Determination. The kind that kept her paying for that storage unit for 36 years. Then we dig, she says. Rachel meets her eyes. They will need authorization. They will need access. They will need a warrant. They will need to step into a space that has been sealed and forgotten, just like the hangar room was sealed and forgotten. And if the photographs are still there, hidden where Gate 17 used to be, someone might have spent decades making sure no one ever looked down, because airports do not just bury old gates, they bury old secrets. Getting under an active airport terminal is not as simple as walking into a basement. It is a city under a city. Pipes, power, security zones, restricted corridors. And every wrong step can shut down flights, trigger alarms, or put lives at risk. Rachel Kim knows they need more than suspicion. They need access. They need someone on the inside to open the right door. That is why she and James Holloway walk back into O'Hare, not through passenger security, but through the administrative side. Quiet hallways, keycard locks, offices with frosted glass. Now, the part of the airport travelers never notice, they are brought to the office of the security director, Gerald Summers. Summers has the look of a man who has lived inside rules for a long time, crisp shirt, controlled posture, eyes that measure people before he speaks. He has worked at the airport for decades, and he carries himself like the building belongs to him. Rachel lays out the facts carefully. 2 missing pilots found sealed behind a wall, a message connected to Flight 227, a note pointing to Gate 17. Evidence possibly hidden near the old concourse footprint under the modern terminal. She explains they need access to the maintenance voids to search for what Torres and Chen tried to protect. Summers does not like it. His first answer is rejection. He says digging under the terminal is out of the question. It will be expensive. It will cause disruption. It will create safety risks. He speaks like a man defending a machine that never stops moving. Rachel does not raise her voice. She only leans forward slightly and lets the weight of the case speak for her. 2 men died here, Mr. Summers. They were murdered and hidden on airport property for 36 years. Whatever they uncovered was worth killing for. If evidence is still here, we have a duty to find it. Summers stares at her for a long moment. Something shifts. Not fear. Not guilt. Something like calculation. Then he exhales slowly and leans back in his chair. He says he remembers the disappearance. Says he was working the early shift back then. Everyone talked about it. The FBI was everywhere. For weeks. He says the airport never fully forgot, even if the public did. Then his tone softens, almost helpful. He turns to his computer and pulls up infrastructure schematics. The screen fills with lines and numbers that look like a maze. He explains that when the airport renovated Concourse B, they did not remove everything underneath. They filled some spaces, but they left voids for access to utilities. Crawl spaces used by maintenance to reach pipes and electrical conduits. Spaces that are narrow, dark, and rarely inspected. He points to a section on the schematic. Gate 17 would have been approximately here, he says. The gate structure is gone, but the infrastructure beneath it was not completely removed. There is a maintenance access point about 50 feet from where that gate used to be. James asks if they can enter it. Summers says, not without authorization and safety equipment. Those spaces can be unstable, full of old dust, old hazards. And he says something else, almost like a warning. Those areas have not been inspected in years. Rachel asks what it will take. Summers says they need a warrant. Official paperwork. Clear legal permission. And he adds the only time window that makes sense. 4 in the morning. Before passenger traffic starts, Rachel nods. While she tells him they will have the warrant. Summers says he can have a crew ready. Small team with keys and lights. Says he will keep it discreet. Says it like he is doing them a favor. Rachel and James leave his office and walk back through the airport. Even at night, O'Hare hums. Screens glow. Cleaning crews move through quiet corridors. Few travelers sit slumped near charging stations. It looks peaceful on the surface. But Rachel cannot stop thinking about a sealed room behind a wall, and 2 pilots dying while this same building kept breathing. Outside, cold air hits their faces. Rachel and James head toward their car, talking low about warrants and safety gear, and the kind of evidence that could survive for decades. They do not notice the dark sedan at first. It is parked 3 rows back, lights off, engine quiet. When they pull out, it pulls out too. Not fast, not aggressive, just steady. Keeping the perfect distance, headlights dimmed. Patient. Professional. Rachel checks her mirror once. Then again, some cases wake up slowly. Some cases wake up angry. And someone at O'Hare seems very interested in where they are going next. 4 in the morning, at O'Hare feels like a different planet. The terminal is not fully awake yet, but it is never truly asleep. The lights are still on. The floors still shine. Somewhere far away, a machine hums, as if the building is breathing through metal lungs. Rachel Kim arrives with the warrant. James. Holloway is beside her, quiet, focused, carrying the weight of everything they have already seen. Gerald Summers' crew is waiting at a maintenance access point away from the public areas. Hard hats, flashlights, key cards, a heavy door that looks ordinary, but opens into a world most travelers never know exists. The moment they step inside, the air changes. Asterisk, the maintenance tunnel is barely 5 feet high. Rachel has to crouch too. Move forward. The concrete walls are damp, slick with condensation. The darkness feels thick. Flashlights carve narrow paths through it, and every step echoes like a secret being spoken out loud. Claustrophobia presses in, not only from the low ceiling, but from the feeling that they are walking into a place that has been undisturbed for too long. Behind Rachel and James, 2 maintenance workers follow. One of them is a man in his 30s, with steady hands and a tight jaw. His name is Chen. James asks him if he has worked these tunnels before. Marcus says yes, but his voice carries something more than routine confidence. Rachel notices it. Controlled emotion. Does not belong to normal maintenance work. As they move deeper, Marcus finally says what he has been holding back. David Chen was my uncle. He vanished in 1987. I heard what you were looking for. I'm not staying above ground while you walk into this alone. Rachel pauses and turns, studying him in the flashlight beam. This is not a curious employee tagging along. This is family. Blood. A man who grew up with a name that never got an ending. She considers the risk, then nods once. Stay close. Do not touch anything unless I tell you. Marcus accepts it without hesitation. The tunnel continues, forcing them to bend and shuffle forward. Water drips somewhere in the dark, slow and steady, like a clock counting down. Rachel thinks about the sealed room in Hangar 7B and feels her stomach tighten. Airports are full of hidden spaces. The public sees gates and shops. The truth often lives behind walls. Marcus checks the schematic in his hand and points ahead. According to this, we are under where Gate 17 used to be. That old gate had a service closet. If something was hidden, that is the most logical spot. The tunnel opens into a slightly wider space. tall enough for Rachel to stand upright. Her back aches as she straightens, but relief lasts only a second. The concrete here looks older, rougher, a different pour. This section feels like original construction from the 1980s. Then Marcus points his light at a panel in the wall. They're a flat service panel, metal framed, sealed into the concrete. It looks untouched at first. Then James steps closer and runs. His gloved fingers around the edges. It has been opened before, he says. Recently, Rachel leans in. Fresh scratch marks circle the frame, not old wear, not rust. This is new damage against old concrete, like someone pried it open, realized what was inside, and put it back in a hurry. Rachel feels her pulse spike. Someone else has been here. Someone else was searching for the same thing. James pulls a crowbar from the gear bag. He wedges it into the gap and applies pressure. The panel resists, then cracks free with a sharp pop that echoes down the tunnel. Behind it is a cavity, about 2 feet deep. Rachel aims her light inside. At first it looks empty, just darkness and dust. Then she sees it. A metal toolbox pushed far back into the corner. Not airport equipment, not forgotten debris. Something placed with intention. James reaches in carefully and pulls it out. It is heavier than it looks. Something inside shifts when he moves it. Rachel kneels beside it, heart pounding and angles. Her flashlight over the lid. 2 letters are scratched into the metal. Mount Michael. Torres. Rachel photographs the box before touching the latch. Then she flips it open. Inside, wrapped in yellowed plastic, is a camera. 3 rolls of film in their original canisters. A small notebook with worn edges. And beneath them, sealed in a plastic sleeve, passenger manifest, flight 227, dated November 10th, 1987. Marcus inhaled sharply. James stares like he is seeing a ghost become real. Rachel does not speak for a moment, because she knows what this means. The evidence Torres and Chen died for did not disappear. It was waiting under the airport all this time, and the fresh scratch. Marks on that panel prove something even worse. Someone was checking that hiding place before the police ever arrived. Rachel does not open the notebook in the tunnel for long. The air down there feels too tight, and the walls feel too close. She photographs everything first. The camera, the film canisters, the manifest, the notebook. Then she seals the toolbox again and carries it out like it is fragile, like it is explosive. Back above ground, the station conference room becomes a second crime scene. Gloves go on. Evidence bags are laid out. A recorder is switched on. Rachel places the notebook on the table and opens it carefully. The handwriting inside is not Torres. It is David Chen. Neat, controlled, but urgent. The first entry is dated October 20th, 1987. Chen writes that Torres noticed a passenger boarding without a scanned ticket. A gate agent waved him through. Later, when they checked the manifest, there was no record of that passenger, yet the seat was occupied during the flight. Seat 14C. Rachel turns the page. Another date, another flight 227, another mention of 14C. Then another Chen documents. 8 separate flights where the same man appears. In that seat, without any official record, always the same routine. The courier walks up with confidence, carrying a large metal case like it is part of his body. The gate area is full of normal travelers, but he moves like he does not belong to their world. He does not wait like them. He does not follow their rules. Chen writes that the courier does not deplane with the other passengers. He leaves through a service door, a back exit, the kind used by staff, not travelers. And every time a ground crew member in an airline uniform escorts him, guiding him around the public path like he is protected. Rachel feels the case tightening. This is not random. This is organized. This is a pipeline. Chen writes about the case again and again. Heavy metal. Always the same shape. Always treated carefully. And Chen adds small details that make the story darker. The courier never looks nervous. The courier never looks rushed. He looks like he knows the airport belongs to him. Then Rachel reaches the entry dated November 13th. Chen writes that he developed photographs at a drugstore and paid cash. He writes that he and Torres planned to meet at the hotel before their flight to go over the evidence and take it to the FAA. And then he writes the name they finally confirmed. The gate agent is named Raymond Holloway. Rachel stops reading for a moment and looks at James. James is standing near the door, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the notebook. His expression is tight, but Rachel cannot tell if it is fear or focus. She speaks the name out loud, calm but sharp. Raymond Holloway. James' face changes. Color drains from it slowly, like someone turned down the lights inside him. His mouth opens, but no sound comes out at first. Then he swallows. He says it quietly, like it hurts to form the words. Raymond Holloway is my father. The room goes silent. Even Marcus Chen, standing near the wall, seems to stop breathing. Because the name on the page is not just a suspect now. It is blood. Rachel does not explode. She does not accuse. She watches James carefully. James looks shocked, not defensive. His eyes are locked on the notebook like he cannot accept what it is saying. Rachel asks him when his father worked at the airport. James answers automatically. United Airlines. Started in the early 80s. Retired in 2003. Marcus clenches his jaw. David Chen disappeared trying to expose this, he says, his voice low and strained. And your father is written here like he was the door that let it happen. Rachel raises a hand, firm. She keeps her voice steady. We do not know if he was coerced. We do not know if he was threatened. We do not know anything yet, except what this notebook claims, and what the film might prove. But even as she says it, she is thinking about the sealed room. 2 men dying slowly in the dark. That did not happen. Because someone was confused. That happened because someone planned it. Rachel turns to James. Her decision is immediate. You are off this case. James blinks like he did not hear. Rachel repeats it more firmly. You are too close. You know it. I know it. Go home. James does not argue, not because he agrees, but because he understands the danger. His father's name is now part of the case. Every move James makes will be questioned. Every decision will look suspicious. If someone is watching them, James becomes a weakness they can exploit. James nods once, grief showing in his eyes. Says one sentence before he leaves, my father did not kill anyone. Rachel does not respond. She watches him walk out and she feels something cold settle in her chest. Because even if Raymond Holloway was only a small part, the notebook proves the truth is bigger than one courier and one gate. And now they have 3 rolls of film that could turn suspicion into proof. Asterisk. The film canisters sit on Rachel's desk like a countdown. Small plastic cylinders, ordinary to look at, but heavy with 36 years of silence. A notebook can be doubted. A memory can be challenged, but film is different. Film freezes a moment and dares anyone to deny it. Rachel carries the evidence to the Chicago Police Photo Lab herself, not because she does not trust her team, but because the feeling in her gut will not let her hand it off casually. Someone has already been under the terminal. Someone has already searched the hiding place. It means the people behind this story are still close enough to reach out. The lab is dim and chemicals sharp. Red safety lights glow softly. Trays and clips and drying lines fill the room. And the woman who runs this place works with the calm patience of a surgeon. Her name is Ellen Rodriguez. She has been developing evidence photographs for more than 20 years. She takes the film from Rachel like it is an artifact pulled from a tomb. She turns each canister in her hands, checking the seals, checking the age, checking the condition film. This old is unpredictable, she says. It might be ruined. It might be perfect. We will only know when it touches the chemicals. Rachel stands behind her, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the trays. The silence is thick. Even the sound of water and equipment feels loud. Ellen opens the first canister. Her movements are slow and precise. She loads the film in darkness, then begins the process. Time stretches. Rachel feels every second like a test, because if the film is destroyed, they lose the most powerful proof Torres and Chen tried to deliver. Then the first image begins to appear. At first it is nothing but pale shadows. Then shapes form. Lines, faces, a gate area. A crowd of passengers in the style of the late 80s, and a sign in the background that makes Rachel breath catch. Gate 17 in the corner of the frame stands. A man in a business suit. He holds a large metal briefcase. His posture is confident, casual, like he belongs there. Like he has done this many times. Ellen slides the photo into view under the red light and looks at Rachel. That has to be your courier. Rachel nods, throat tight. Ellen develops the next photo. Same gate area, same man, same briefcase. Its image. Catches the moment he approaches the gate desk. The gate agent is visible, face clear, leaning slightly forward. Then the courier steps through without the normal pause. Without the normal scan, the gate agent waves him through. No boarding pass scan. No official check. Rachel leans closer, heart pounding. The gate agent face is unmistakable. Even older film cannot hide it. Raymond Holloway. Ellen develops the third photograph. The air in the room changes. It is taken in an area that looks like the edge of the cargo hold. Industrial metal, shadows of service space. The courier is there with two men in ground crew uniforms. One of them's opening the metal briefcase. The lid is lifted just enough for the camera to catch what is inside. Stacks of rectangular packages, brick-shaped, wrapped tightly, not money. The size is wrong. The texture's wrong. Ellen does not say it loudly. She says it like a person naming. A storm, drugs, likely cocaine. Rachel feels cold move through her body, not because she is surprised, but because the proof makes the case real in a way that cannot be argued. Two pilots did not vanish because of a personal problem. They vanished because they got to, close to something illegal running through the heart of the airport. Rachel's phone buzzes in her pocket. A message from the station. Warrant approved, Raymond Holloway. Residence and nursing home room. Rachel stares. At the photographs one more time, the courier, the briefcase, it's the wave through the gate, it's the bricks. Then she looks at Ellen. Bag and tag everything, full chain of custody. I am moving now. Ellen nods and begins processing the photos like they are live ammunition. Rachel steps out of the lab into the harsh hallway light. For the first time, she feels the case shifting from old mystery to present danger. 'Cause a warrant means questions. And questions mean pressure. And people who hit a smuggling route for decades do not like pressure, especially when their inside man is about to be confronted in a nursing home room with nowhere to run. The film canisters sit on Rachel's desk like a countdown. Small plastic cylinders, ordinary to look at, but heavy with 36 years of silence. A notebook can be doubted. A memory can be challenged. But film is different. Film freezes a moment and dares anyone to deny it. Rachel carries the evidence to the Chicago Police Photo Lab herself, not because she does not trust her team, but because the feeling in her gut will not let her hand it off casually. Someone has already been under the terminal. Someone has already searched the hiding place. That means the people behind this story are still close enough to reach out. The lab is dim and chemical sharp. Red safety lights glow softly. Trays and clips and drying lines fill the room. And the woman who runs this place works with the calm patience of a surgeon. Her name is Ellen Rodriguez. She has been developing evidence photographs for more than 20 years. She takes the film from Rachel like it is an artifact pulled from a tomb. She turns each canister in her hands, checking the seals, checking the age, checking the condition. Film this old is unpredictable, she says. It might be ruined. It might be perfect. We will only know when it touches the chemicals. Rachel stands behind her, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the trays. The silence is thick. Even the sound of water and equipment feels loud. Ellen opens the first canister. Her movements are slow and precise. She loads the film in darkness, then begins the process. Time stretches. Rachel feels every second like a test. Because if the film is destroyed, they lose the most powerful proof Torres and Chen tried to deliver. Then the first image begins to appear. At first it is nothing but pale shadows. Then shapes form, lines, faces, a gate area, crowd of passengers. In the style of the late 80s, and a sign in the background that makes Rachel breath catch. Gate 17, in the corner of the frame, stands a man in a business suit. He holds a large metal briefcase. His posture is confident, casual, like he belongs. There. Like he has done this many times. Ellen slides the photo into view under the red light and looks at Rachel. That has to be your courier. Rachel nods, throat tight. Ellen develops the next photo. Same gate area, same man, same briefcase. Its image. Catches the moment he approaches the gate desk. The gate agent is visible, face clear, leaning slightly forward. Then the courier steps through without the normal pause. Without the normal scan, the gate agent waves him through. No boarding pass scan. No official check. Rachel leans closer, heart pounding. The gate agent face is unmistakable. Even older film cannot hide it. Raymond Holloway. Ellen develops the third photograph. The air in the room changes. It is taken in an area that looks like the edge of the cargo hold. Industrial metal, shadows of service space. The courier is there with two men in ground crew uniforms. One of them's opening the metal briefcase. The lid is lifted just enough for the camera to catch what is inside. Stacks of rectangular packages, brick-shaped, wrapped tightly, not money. The size is wrong. The texture's wrong. Ellen does not say it loudly. She says it like a person naming. A storm, drugs, likely cocaine. Rachel feels cold move through her body, not because she is surprised, but because the proof makes the case real in a way that cannot be argued. Two pilots did not vanish because of a personal problem. They vanished because they got to, close to something illegal running through the heart of the airport. Rachel's phone buzzes in her pocket. A message from the station. Warrant approved, Raymond Holloway. Residence and nursing home room. Rachel stares. At the photographs one more time, the courier, the briefcase, it's the wave through the gate, it's the bricks. Then she looks at Ellen. Bag and tag everything, full chain of custody. I am moving now. Ellen nods and begins processing the photos like they are live ammunition. Rachel steps out of the lab into the harsh hallway light. For the first time, she feels the case shifting from old mystery to present danger. 'Cause a warrant means questions. Questions mean pressure. And people who hit a smuggling route for decades do not like pressure, especially when their inside man is about to be confronted in a nursing home room with nowhere to run. The nursing home sits in a quiet part of Evanston, far from the noise of the airport. It has a soft name that promises comfort, but inside it smells like antiseptic and warm plastic. The halls are slow. The lights are too bright. The air feels heavy with time. Rachel Kim arrives with a small team and a warrant that makes the staff nervous. They guide her to a room at the end of the hallway. The administrator speaks in a low voice, trying to prepare her. Mr. Holloway has good days and bad days. Today is a bad day. Probably will not answer clearly. Rachel steps inside. Raymond. Holloway sits in a wheelchair near the window, looking out at a parking lot under gray sky. He is in his 70s. White hair, thin hands, face mapped with wrinkles. He does not look like a man who once waved a courier through an airport gate. He looks like someone waiting for lunch. Rachel pulls a chair in front of him and shows her badge. She keeps her voice gentle but steady. She tells him her name and asks about his work at O'Hare. Raymond turns his head slowly. His eyes meet hers, but there is no recognition, no focus. Only a loose confusion, like his mind is tuned to a different station. Rachel takes out the developed photograph, the one where he is clearly waving the courier through without scanning. Anything, she holds it so he can see. Do you remember this? Do you remember helping a man board flights without proper documentation? Raymond stares at the picture. For a moment, something flickers in his expression. Not a full memory. It's more like a shadow of fear. Then it fades, and he looks past the photo, as if it is not real. He mumbles something about lunch. Rachel feels frustration rise, but she pushes it down. Dementia does not care about warrants or truth. It locks people inside their own minds and throws away the key, while Rachel tries again with simple questions. The search team begins going through the room. It is small and sparse. Few family photos, service medal from his airline years. A television playing silently. It's nothing that screams criminal. Then an officer opens the nightstand drawer and stops. "Detective, you need to see this." Inside the drawer, wrapped in an old shirt, is a small lockbox. Rachel brings it to the table and opens it under the warrant. The lid lifts with a soft click, and the contents speak louder than any confession. Stacks of cash, neatly banded $50,000. Under the money is a passport, Raymond Holloway. Photograph is on it, but the name is not. A different identity. A different life waiting in a pocket. Beneath the passport is a folded note on yellowed paper. Rachel opens it carefully and reads. The message is blunt, cold, commanding your debt is paid. The pilots are handled. You never speak of this to anyone. You retire quietly. You live your life. If you talk, your son dies. Rachel's stomach turns. The note is unsigned, but it does not need a signature to feel dangerous. It reads like the kind of order that comes from someone who does not ask twice. At the bottom of the note, in different handwriting Raymond has written a final line, smaller, shaky, like a confession made in private. I am sorry. God forgive me. I did not know they would kill them. I did not know. Rachel photographs every item. Cash, passport, note. Raymond's added line. Then she looks back at the old man by the window. Raymond's hands tremble in his lap. His eyes drift. Away again, lost in fog. Whatever he did, he is not capable of explaining it now. That makes it worse. Because the note proves he was involved. It also suggests he was trapped, pressured, threatened, used. Rachel stands and feels the case shift once more. Raymond Holloway was a gate agent, not a mastermind. He was a door someone forced open. The real power is the person who wrote that note. The person who could threaten a man's son and make him obey. Rachel leaves the room with the evidence boxed and sealed. One thought burning through her mind. If someone controlled Raymond Holloway with fear, then someone else controlled this entire operation from a much higher place. Rachel leaves the nursing home with evidence sealed in boxes, but her mind will not slow down. The cash, the fake passport, the note, the threat against a son, it proves one thing clearly.
Raymond Holloway
did not act alone. He was controlled. Someone higher pulled the strings. Rachel is driving back toward the station when her phone rings. Sarah Vance. Sarah's voice is tight, shaking at the edges, but she is trying to stay composed. She does not waste time on greetings. She says someone broke into her apartment. Rachel's hands tighten on the steering wheel. She asks if Sarah is hurt. Sarah says no. But her next words make the hair rise on Rachel's neck. They went through everything. All my father boxes, they overturned them. They scattered papers everywhere. They did not steal anything. Rachel hears the meaning immediately. This is not robbery. It's a message. Rachel tells Sarah to stay where she is. Do not touch anything. Do not clean. Do not try to put the past back into order. Officers are already being redirected. When Rachel arrives, Sarah's apartment looks like a storm hit it and chose only one target. Boxes ripped open, papers thrown across the floor. Photographs stepped on, boot prints pressed into faces. File folders spilled like someone wanted her to see how easily they could destroy the last pieces of her father. Sarah sits on the couch, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes look hollow, like she has been staring at the same nightmare for too long. In her hand, she holds one item that was not there before. A photograph. Rachel takes it carefully and studies it under the light. The picture shows Sarah leaving the Chicago Tribune building. It is taken from across the street with a long lens, crisp enough to see her expression, sharp enough to feel personal. The timestamp shows it was taken yesterday. Attached to it is a note printed on plain white paper, the kind that leaves no handwriting to trace. Drop this. Some things should stay buried. Sarah speaks without looking up. They wanted me to know they can reach me whenever they want. They did not take the evidence. They did not steal the files. They just wanted to scare me. Rachel feels anger burn cold in her chest. She has worked cases with threats before, but this one feels different. This one is precise, patient, like whoever. Did this has been watching Sarah for a while? Was waiting for the moment the case woke up again? Rachel tells Sarah they will put protection on her. Patrol checks, extra surveillance. She says it firmly because she needs Sarah to hear certainty. But Sarah does not look reassured. Looks like a woman who has lived with fear her entire life and knows when fear has changed shape. She says her father was killed for trying to expose them. She says a patrol car cannot stop someone who has been hiding inside an airport for decades. Rachel does not argue. Because Sarah is not wrong, Rachel steps into the hallway and speaks quietly to her team. Full report, fingerprints, entry point, camera canvas, neighbor interviews. And she makes another decision that feels heavy but necessary. Sarah is now part of the active danger zone. Not a witness, just a daughter. A target. When Rachel returns to the living room, she looks at the scattered boxes and the broken order of Sarah, life, and tells her the truth in the simplest way. Someone is still protecting what Torres and Chen discovered. And whoever that is, they are close enough to watch every move you make. A final photograph will surface that does not just prove a crime. It will reveal the face of the person who has been standing between the truth and justice this whole time. Rachel barely has time to breathe after the break-in. Sarah is shaken. Officers are collecting prints. The case is moving fast, and the danger is moving faster. Rachel feels it in her bones now. The people behind this are not retired ghosts. They're active, watching, reacting. Her phone rings again. This time it is Ellen Rodriguez from the photo lab. Ellen's voice is low, focused. She says she finished developing the rest of the film, and she says there is something Rachel needs to see immediately. Rachel arrives at the lab within minutes. The red light feels harsher now. The air smells like chemicals and certainty. Ellen lays a fresh photograph on the table and slides it forward. This one is not at the gate, not in the cargo area. It is taken inside an office. 3 men stand close together in the image like they are discussing something serious. One is the courier with the metal briefcase. One is Raymond Holloway, younger and alert. The same face from Gate 17. And the third man is different. He is older than the others, wearing a suit that looks expensive even in grainy film. His posture is relaxed, confident, like he owns the room. His face is clear, not blurred, not hidden. Ellen tells Rachel she ran the face through recognition databases. It came back as Gerald Summers, the security director of O'Hare. Rachel feels the floor drop under her. Gerald Summers, the man who argued then cooperated, the man who pulled up schematics, the man who pointed them to the access point, the man who told them 4 in the morning was the best time, the man who knew the blind spots and the tunnels and the history. Rachel stares at the photo until her eyes ache. Suddenly, every strange delay makes sense. Every perfect piece of guidance. The way Summers positioned himself is helpful without ever seeming too eager. The way he controlled the path, he was not helping them find the truth, he was steering them. Around it, or worse. He was trying to reach it before they did. Rachel's hand moves to her phone to call James, and then she pauses. James is off the case. His father's name is in the evidence. But Rachel also knows something else. James knows the airport. James knows procedure. And if Summers is involved, Rachel cannot afford to work blind. She calls anyway. James answers fast, like he was already waiting for something to happen. Rachel starts to speak, but James cuts in with urgency. Rachel, I need to tell you something. My father had a lucid moment this morning, clearer than he has been in years. He told me Gerald Summers visited him in the nursing home 2 days ago. Before he found the bodies, he asked if my father told anyone about the old days. My father said no. Summers did not believe him. Rachel feels cold spread across her skin. Summers was checking loose ends, cleaning up, making sure Raymond stayed. Quiet Rachel tells James what Ellen found. That Summers is in the photograph. That Summers is tied directly to the courier and Raymond. She tells him to stay away from the airport. James does not answer the way she expects. He says he is already there. Rachel demands to know why. James says he went to Summers' office. He says Summers is not there, but the computer is unlocked. Office is too clean, too controlled, too confident. And James says he found files not only about drugs, not only about cash, passenger manifests, Financial records. Movement logs. Names that do not belong on official paperwork. James' voice rises slightly as he speaks faster. He says this looks like a system, a pipeline. He says it is bigger than one courier, bigger than Flight 227, bigger than the 1980s. Then he says the sentence that makes Rachel grip her phone harder. They were moving people too. Rachel tells him to stop. Do not download anything. Do not touch anything else. Just leave. Get out now. James says he is taking photographs. He says it is evidence. He says they need it. Rachel starts moving toward her car, heart pounding, because she knows what happens when you walk into a man territory and start pulling at his secrets. Gerald Summers has been running security for years. He would know every camera, every hallway, every response time. Rachel hears James breathing on the line, then a sound like movement, chair scraping, a door, then the line goes dead. And in that, silence. Rachel understands something terrifying. They are not only being watched, they are being hunted the moment the call drops. Rachel does not hesitate. Her body moves before her mind finishes the thought. Keys, badge, radio. She is out the door and into her car. Siren cutting through the city like a scream. The drive to O'Hare takes minutes that feel endless. Rachel keeps seeing the photograph of Gerald Summers in her head. She keeps hearing James' voice saying they were moving people too. She keeps imagining what Summers would do to protect a 40-year export network built inside an airport. When Rachel reaches the security office area, airport police are already there. Flashing lights reflect off polished hallway floors. Officers cluster around an open doorway. A paramedic kneels on the ground. James Holloway is on the floor, unconscious but breathing. A deep cut on his head bleeds through gauze as paramedics press and rap and speak in quick, controlled voices. His face is pale. His jaw is clenched like his body is still fighting even. While he is down, Rachel pushes closer and demands answers. An airport officer tells her they got an anonymous 911 call. Sounds of a struggle. They arrived fast. They found Detective Holloway like this. The officer holds up a plastic evidence bag. Inside is a pistol, registered to Gerald Summers. Rachel's stomach tightens. Summers is not only involved, he is violent. He is the kind of man who does not negotiate when the truth gets too close. Rachel asks where. Summers is now. The officer says he is gone. Left in a hurry. Office door unlocked. Hallway cameras show movement, then a gap, like someone knew which angles to avoid. Rachel looks at the desk. Coffee still warm, or a chair knocked slightly offline. The computer monitor is dark, but the machine hums. A life interrupted in the middle of normal routine, she asks about the computer. Another officer says the system is wiped, files deleted, access logs cleared. Whoever did it knew exactly how to erase tracks. Is this what a security director can do when he turns the building into a weapon? Then the officer says something else. And Rachel feels a sharp twist of relief. But your detective was smart. He was sending photos to a cloud server. Rachel drops to her knees beside James. His eyes flutter open for a second. Unfocused. He tries to speak. Rachel tells him not to. Just breathe. Just stay alive. James' mouth moves anyway. He whispers that. He got it. He got everything. And then his voice cracks as he forces out another warning. Summers knows. He has people everywhere. He said the bodies were a mistake. The hangar was supposed to be demolished years ago, but it kept getting delayed. Rachel's face hardens. Those delays were not paperwork. They were protection. Someone kept that wall standing to keep two bodies hidden forever. James coughs, pain tightening his features. He says Summers told him Torres and Chen should have looked the other way like everyone else. It's just business. Paramedics insist James must be transported. Rachel steps back, watching them lift him carefully onto the stretcher. She wants to chase Summers right now, but she knows the truth comes first. Evidence. Proof. Survival. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. You found the pawns. Congratulations. But the game is far from over. Stop now, or everyone you love becomes a target. Rachel's hands clench around the phone. Then another message arrives. Photograph attached. Sarah Vance walking into the police station. Time-stamped minutes ago. Rachel feels her blood go cold. They are watching Sarah in real time. They are watching Rachel too. They are not hiding anymore. They are sending messages like they own the city. Rachel forwards the threat to her captain. Then she calls Sarah immediately and asks where she is. Sarah says she is still at the station, going through her father files. Rachel orders her to stay there. Do not leave. Do not go anywhere alone. The simplest acts have become dangerous, Rachel. Looks through the office window at the runway beyond. Planes take off and land, steady and indifferent. Hundreds of flights. Thousands of people. And inside that endless flow, a hidden system has been running for decades. This is no longer a cold case. This is an active war with an enemy who can watch through airport cameras and move through back corridors like a shadow. And somewhere out there, Gerald Summers is running, carrying secrets that could destroy more lives than anyone suspects. 6 months pass, but the case never goes quiet. It follows Rachel into every workday. It follows Sarah into every sentence she writes. It follows James into every hour he tries to sleep. Because after the attack, there is no safe way to pretend this is history. The evidence is real. The threats are real. And the network they uncovered is still breathing. Sarah Vance does what she has always done when fear tries to silence her. She writes, not one article, not a simple update, full investigation. 6 parts published by the Chicago Tribune, each one digging deeper, each one naming what people avoided for decades. Sarah tells the public about the 2 pilots who vanished before Flight 227. She tells them about Hangar 7B in the sealed room. She tells them about the courier in seat 14C. She tells them about the gate agent, the briefcase, the bricks. Tells them about the inside access routes under the terminal and the long system of blind spots that turned an airport into a pipeline. And she tells them the name at the top, Gerald Summers. The story spreads fast. People share it because it is not just crime, it is betrayal. An airport is supposed to be controlled, safe, a place built on procedure and security. Sarah's series shows that for decades, someone used those same systems as a weapon. Rachel's department pulls every record James managed to save. Cloud photos, screenshots, documents captured minutes before Summers struck. Analysts work through logs and manifests like archaeologists digging through ash. Financial teams follow money trails. Federal agencies join in. The case expands beyond Chicago because the evidence points outward, like roots under a sidewalk. Then an update comes in that feels like a door finally slamming shut. Gerald Summers is located in Mexico. He is arrested while trying to board a flight that would take him farther away, deeper into places where paperwork disappears. He is caught with travel plans that look like escape, not business. And even after the arrest, he fights extradition, clinging to the last thing he has left. Distance, but the evidence is overwhelming. Photographs, documents, the gun, the wiped computer, the tunnel access. The decades of patterns records pulled from Summers' files and James' saved images show the true scale. Over 300 illegal transports across decades, drugs, money, and what James warned Rachel about in his last coherent call: people, fugitives, witnesses, names that appeared in documents without clear purpose, movements that never entered official systems, a quiet underground route that used normal flights and normal gates to move the abnormal, is hidden in plain sight. The public reaction is explosive. The airport launches reviews. Airlines issue statements. Officials promise changes. Still, none of it brings back Torres or Chen. 2 weeks after the evidence becomes public, Raymond Holloway dies in his sleep. A stroke. Doctors say a quiet ending. Rachel reads the report and feels a strange heaviness. She thinks about the note in his lockbox, the threat to his son, the line he wrote in remorse. I did not know they would kill them. Sarah tries to imagine what it is like to live decades with that knowledge. Then she stops trying because some guilt is too heavy to translate. James Holloway survives. He returns to work. But he does not return to the airport. He requests a transfer to financial crimes. Too many ghosts, he says. Too many hallways that feel like traps. Too many echoes of footsteps behind him. Rachel understands. She does not argue. Trauma does not need debate. And Sarah, after publishing the series, finally feels something she has not felt since childhood. Not happiness, not peace, something closer to release. The mystery is solved. The truth is out. People who built. The silence are exposed. But even with Summers in custody, Rachel cannot shake one final thought. Summers called them pawns. That means he believed that someone else was still holding the board. 6 months after the headlines, after the arrests, after the evidence was boxed and cataloged, Sarah Vance returns to O'Hare one more time. Not as a child waiting by the glass, not as a journalist chasing a lead. She returns as a daughter who finally has an ending, even if the ending hurts. The modern terminal looks nothing like 1987. Glass and steel, bright screens, clean lines. The air smells like coffee and new carpet. Travelers move past with rolling bags and tired faces, chasing their own departures. Nobody looks up long enough to notice what this place used to be. Nobody imagines what is buried under the polished floor. Sarah stands beside Rachel Kim near the spot where Gate 17 once existed. There is no sign that says Gate 17 now. The number is gone. The walls are different. The angles are different. But Sarah knows she is standing on the edge of a place her father once stood, watching passengers board, carrying a secret he could not ignore. Rachel is quieter than usual. She looks like a detective who has solved the case but still cannot sleep. Some truths close files but open scars. Sarah tells Rachel the airport has approved a new pilot training center. It will carry a name that should have been honored decades ago. The Torres Chen Memorial Center, a place where new pilots will learn safety, discipline, and duty. A place that turns to lost men into a lesson the world cannot forget. Rachel nods slowly. They deserved that much, she says. They deserved more. They stand together in silence for a moment. People rush past. A child cries. A boarding announcement echoes through the air. Life keeps moving. It always has. Sarah reaches into her bag and pulls out a small box. Inside is her father, Captain Pin. The metal wings. The tiny shine, the symbol he wore on every flight like a promise. The FBI returned it long ago, and Sarah has carried it for years like a weight she could not set down. She opens the box and looks at the pin one last time. Her eyes tighten, not with fresh grief, but with the long, tired kind, the kind that lives in the bones. Then she walks to a nearby window ledge. She places the pin carefully against the glass where the morning light catches it. A small object in a giant airport. It's easy to miss, easy to ignore. But she places it anyway, because closure does not need an audience. It only needs truth. Sarah whispers a goodbye without raising her voice. Her father does not need to hear it anymore. She needs to say it. Rachel stands beside her and does not interrupt. She understands that some moments are private even in public places before they leave. Sarah mentions one detail that feels almost too quiet for everything this case became. Flight 227 still flew for years, but the airline eventually retired the designation. Not a big announcement. It's not a public ceremony. It's just a silent removal, like the system trying to erase a number that carried too much blood. Yet the airport continues. Always. Planes arriving. Planes departing. People coming and going. The machine of modern life never pauses long enough to mourn. Sarah and Rachel walk back through the terminal. Past security checkpoints, past gate agents, past travelers who will never know what happened. Beneath their feet, Sarah feels lighter, but not because she is healed. She feels lighter because the mystery is no longer a cage. Her father's name is cleared. His courage is visible. His story is finally complete. But O'Hare has its own way of holding on to the past. Late at night, when the terminal quiets and only cleaning crews move through empty corridors, some workers still talk. Not officially, not on record. Quietly, like superstition. They say they have seen two men in pilot uniforms near where Gate 17 used to be, standing side by side, checking their watches, watching the flow of passengers like guardians, keeping watch over a place that once betrayed them. Maybe it is grief playing tricks. Maybe it is shadows and fatigue. Or maybe some people do not leave until the truth is told. And now that the truth is out, the question is not whether they are there. The question is what they are still protecting. If you are still watching, it means this story deserved your like and subscribe. Please turn on the bell icon so you do not miss more cold case stories on Unscripted Tales. And please complete 5,000 likes on this story because this is the target set from my mother for you. So help me guys, it is totally free. Also tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this story?